right, 2019. I am Clayton Captain Flowers Reigns, finally getting to cast here at MSI with the stupendous squad to bring me into groups. I got in 2 groups. I got Sam Kobe Hartman Kinsler and Indiana Froskier Black, a never-before-seen trio we are breaking out here for this international competition.
Feels like you got a really long list of names right there. That was like a mouthful to get through.
Yeah, well, we all have our first name, our last name, our caster name. There's a bunch of words in there.
I feel like we're a superhero squad now, but we're already into Champion Select here. You know we like to get into the game as quickly as possible. And Rise, one of the Flesh picks not banned, already is first picked here by SK Telecom.
I do want to point something that did slip to the draft, however, in relation to Boogie right there, and it's the fact that his Jarvan, the first time that we saw Flash Wolves versus TL, they banned the Rek'Sai and the Jarvan, 2 of his signature champions against him, and that's what I expect right there. As well as the Galio also being left open, there's a possibility of a cannonball composition from Flash Wolves.
And that's what we want to see coming out from this team that has quite a history with their opponents that they're going up against here today. SKT and Flash Wolves, frequently representatives of their regions at international competition.
Exactly. Each of them has only missed 1 MSI apiece. They are synonymous with the regions that they are representing. Another thing here as far as the Champion Select, where if you're looking at the earlier games that both these teams played today where they lost, SK Telecom, it was a lot through the top lane where G2 were able to get Jace, 4 Wonder, and use that to move around the map and take a lot of early Turks. Hanabi's definitely a carry player for Flash Wolves, and they could go in a similar strategy.
But the thing is Flash Wolves seem to put so much attention to their bot lane, not necessarily just in their most recent performance, but also in their draft. The fact that they've had 2 games now back-to-back with such high priority on Kai'Sa, it feels like what Spawn was mentioning earlier, that they're just very telegraphed in everything that they want. And if there's one team you don't want to have download you, it's probably SKT.
Yeah, this is a team that has been on record plenty of times before at being able to dissect and dismantle opponents, and now they will have some playmaking in the Lee Sin. We saw Clid play that already earlier today. Didn't have success on it in that first game to the surprise of many, but we'll see what he can do with it here and now.
Yeah, I think the surprise is a key word there, because this is the champion I most associate with Clid and with his pop-off early game plays. Definitely going to be something that SKT wants to write.
I think something that they really need to shore up in their composition from the first game they played to this one is having more hard engage tools. And already, I like kind of the spread that we have, having access to something like a Rise, so you're not just reliant on the Lee Sin, because it felt like if SKT ever did get ahead, they'd have nothing to pull the trigger on their previous comp.
All right, the third pick that we're going to see coming in for the side of Flash Wolves before we get into those second round of bans will be the Nautilus. Remember, there's some flex pick potential here for that one. Usually seen in the support role in professional play, but you can take it elsewhere here as well. The bans coming through will be an Orianna for the side of SKT, as Lucian is taken off the table by the Flash.
I actually find it interesting that they didn't just snap grab something like the Galio. It's something that Xiaoxi has looked so confident on, so I'm curious if they know something about the potential mid lane matchup, or if they think that Nautilus is now just that much higher tier priority over having the Galio Jarvan synergy.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the Galio with the Kai'Sa and the Jarvan is such a classic combination there for a big AoE, but again, bottom lane focus, and they ban out the Ezreal as well, one of the safe AD carries.
Yeah, and I think that's really the plan there. It's the fact that you ban Ezreal and Lucian, now you have the Nautilus. It's daring Teddy to play something immobile. What is your option going to be alongside that Braum? Possibly something like a Varus, and now you're dealing with a Nautilus ultimate.
Just a quick update for everybody viewing from home. It is a little bit of a graphical issue right now in Champion Select, but all the picks and bans are correct. So what you're seeing is how Champion Select is playing out, as the final ban will be that Kinnan. We'll see what the Flash Wolves want to lock in here, and it's Rumble for the solo lane.
Oh my goodness. All right, Hanabi here going to take the big AP threat from the top side, I believe.
This is like a composition straight out like 2015, it feels. The classic, you put down the little Jarvan circle, you just dunk the Rumble ultimate inside.
The hot pot, the dunk bucket. There's all sorts of fun things you can do with this one, but it is scary for a priority target.
And that works so much better against those marksmen that don't have dashes, hence the Lucian and the Ezreal bans here. But Kalista does have dashes built into the kit.
Yeah, quite a few.
The auto attack.
Yeah, quite a few of those there with the martial cadence on the Kalista. And if you want to talk about dashes, let's talk about something else with more than a couple of them. Irelia, the final pick here for the side of SKT.
And it feels like Flash Wolves were trying to kind of buckle in for this 5v5. They're trying to pick out Teddy to make it really hard for him to play these team fights. We want the Betty versus Teddy team fight ADC showdown. But SKT are like, no. We are done with that. We can have the possibility to play 1-3-1 with the likes of a Rise and an Aurelia.
All right, let's see if Flash Wolves want to lock in this Cho'Gath, and yes, they will. A lot of AP damage threat coming out from this Flash Wolves composition.
We're going to have a Rumble mid, maybe? If we have
or is it
another
Nautilus
flop here?
mid and Rumble in the jungle with Jarvan support?
Could be Rumble jungle as well, and Nautilus either support or mid. A lot of these are very flexible, but that's what I would think is the mid Rumble will come through versus the Aurelia here.
Now, one of the things that mid Rumble can really bring, we saw him kind of when the double smite was taking effect, is because he has so much push priority in those lanes. He tries to shove it forward, they can go roam around. Obviously, his control over the river with his level 6 ultimate, if it's a good dragon fight, that's great for Flash Wolves. They want to see something like a Mountain, like an Infernal, to try to make the most out of that mid Rumble.
And I think a lot of people have been waiting for Rumble to come back into the meta with all the recent buffs he's been getting, the extra speed there for the shield as well coming up. That's definitely going to serve you well against Aurelia, trying to dodge out the stuns and trying to get away.
And we know how difficult Irelia can be to lock down with her ability to ignore CC through the W, to dash around and dodge all the skill shots. Well, what are you going to ignore when Cho'Gath eats you for 1,000 true damage? There's not a lot of outplay potential there, so we'll see if they can manage to lock him down and keep this working, and maybe Flash Wolves can find their first win at MSI here up against their long-standing rival.
It still just feels like Flash Wolves are playing a bit of a slower game, however, with this type of composition. Now, that said, someone needs to pick up a win here, and I'm curious who's going to put the pedal on the gas first. Is it going to be SKT, who got slammed in game number 1 across from G2 and decide to speed things up?
I think that there are so many options for Clid this time around in the mid and the top lane here. Both of them have setup.
And as we jump into Summoner's Rift here for the 4th time today, SKT and Flash Wolves both looking for that first win of the main group stage here at MSI 2019. I want to remind everybody at home that these organizations, while both have quite a storied history, are currently both coming off of a rebuild kind of a year after a lack of success or a departure of many key members from previous iterations.
Yeah, it's kind of departing from the golden era of both these organizations. And the thing is this is such a long-standing international rivalry. I'll hold it, though. Some level 1 action.
Just a little bit of spells being flung back and forth. Boogie will take the worst of it, but nothing too bad.
And ultimately, we call Flash Wolves the Korean killers because it feels like whatever iteration it is, they manage to get the best of a Korean team. They've never been 0-2 against any Korean team in groups. They always take a game. But ultimately, this next chapter will choose if that's a legend or a fairy tale.
Exactly. I'm definitely looking at the next chapters for both of these squads. SK Telecom themselves trying to get back to that dominating performance that everyone knows for them.
And as we're still waiting on the minions to spawn, I want to go ahead and touch on a couple of different keystones because there are some champions in this game that will switch between a few of them. You do see Khan's Rise with the phase rush, not the aftershock that we see Rises often take to make themselves more tanky. You've also got Boogie's Jarvan running the Conqueror. Sometimes you see something else. This time we're going to see that heavier damage option as bottom side. Trade starting out here pretty early. Stun going to find its way down onto Shall See as Flash Wolves lose that level 1 trade.
And just some of the reasons for those rune choices, the Rise on the top side, of course, speed so good versus Cho'Gath. This champion has a very difficult time trying to land those ruptures and silences on the super quick burst that you can get.
And one of my favorite keystones was the Hail Blades on Kalista. I love how early pressure it gives her in the lane phase. You can already see her starting to trade very aggressively there.
One thing with Rumble mid, plays very aggressively, pushes up the lane. Jungler's fighting at it though.
Level 2, 1 versus 1. Clid's going to win that one for now, but Boogie has already secured the Scuttle Crab for the side of the Flash Wolves, so he'll go back into his own jungle and keep on farming up.
And some of this was tipped off by the fact that Faker made the rotation over, got some early vision, and this is something to keep your eye on with SKT. What they do with the information from the vision that they gather, and the fact that they always try to create opportunities or something to play around off of it.
And SKT is a team that, remember, we're not expecting them to have the sort of a game like what we saw last time around from Invictus Gaming and Fangbu Buffalo. This is not a team that wants to explode out the gate early. They build leads in the early game, but they're small, they're controlled.
I don't think anyone's going to expect the game that we saw last time.
Shall See going to find himself in the losing end of a trade here. Bottom side yet again. Mata now going to be forced to retreat as well as TP comes in. Betty looking to put some damage onto Teddy's health bar, but Rather's made his way into the mix now. Going to force out a flash, and SKT retreats.
That big teleport there from Rather, though, committing to the bottom side. That's going to be a big cooldown for mid lane. Faker now gets to push out the wave, so he gets a free recall, basically. Doesn't have to use his teleport to get back to lane because the minions are already pushed up.
And now it's kind of a question of what does that mean in the long term for both of these mid laners. I feel like it's going to hurt rather a little bit if he does fall behind to the EXP. I'm curious how much he actually lost to that tower as he got there just in time, because those ultimates will mean so much in that 1v1.
On the same token, you're talking earlier, Frostgurn, about the bottom lane focus. Now there is no flash on Teddy. No heal as well, so bottom lane could be a focus for a repeat gank if they want to make that teleport worth. That was the one thing they got out of it, was Teddy's flash.
And speaking of ganks, we look at the position of both junglers. They're both on that bottom side of the map. You can see Clid here having cleared out most of his bottom side jungle. Likely going to go for a back here if he doesn't see an opportunity to make some sort of a play. Meanwhile, Boogie still has all of that bottom side of his own to farm, so plenty of money to be picked up there for the side of this Flash Wolves jungler who, as you guys mentioned early on, is on one of these comfort picks. This is one of the champions Flash Wolves wants to see him piloting.
And he definitely needs it, because Boogie's been a bit suspect in some of these games right now. You can tell that he's relatively new to the squad, that there are some language barriers there. Now, he is the Korean member alongside Rather here, so you want to see these guys paired up in specific. But if you watch Boogie in very intense situations, sometimes he's not making the cohesive play with his team.
Top side, Hanabi flinging out some comments there towards Khan, but nothing too big going to be happening here early on between these guys. Cho'Gath has so much sustain in lane that Ryze can poke at him a little bit, but won't find too much success, and Khan will be able to farm up rather easily from range. Clid going to see if maybe he can make some sort of a lane gank work here. Hanabi does see that Khan doesn't have much of a mana bar left, and in case he goes in for something, Clid's going to be right there to make it happen. Let's see if they can find the Rune Prison. That one's going to be landing there. Flash over the Rupture. Hanabi trying to get himself away. Clid pursuing. Sonic Wave into the Resonating Strike. Damage coming through. One more hit will do it. And first blood goes to SKT.
And this is the SK Telecom with Clid iteration. Everyone's been talking about their early game and a little bit more power there. He uses the flash, ward hops under there with the Conqueror. It's enough to finish up the first blood.
And it's so nice to see SKT finally with an aggressive jungler. It feels like this is the iteration that everyone wanted when they had such a legendary maneuver like Peanut.
He was looking for a repeat gank there, but the ward still exists. And a Navi backstop.
Yeah, I think Hanabi smelled it too. He's like, oh no, I know this.
You give me once, all right, I'll give you that one. But second time, not going to happen this time.
That is definitely one of the worst feelings for a top laner. Dying like that for first blood, then having to teleport back out to a deep lane, knowing that the enemy jungler could still be there. He does back off, though, and avoids a repeat tragedy.
Yeah, you basically shove it in and get the hell out of there.
Flash Wolves going after this next Scuttle Crab. Remember, it was Boogie who was able to secure both crabs on that first spawn. We'll see if they can continue maintaining control over these neutral river areas. Faker does have level 6. Vanguard Edge up and running. Rather, because he teleported bot early on, doesn't have his own ultimate ready for a fight should one happen. Now that he takes 6, it's going to be available. Let's take another look here at that topside first blood.
And you called it, Clayton. It felt like the key thing here was the fact that Clid was able to get the flash over the Rupture, which allowed him to look for the Sonic Wave.
Yeah, he's able to get in there, lands it slow as well. Then Conqueror procs, so he's going to ward hop right under the turret, finishes off that kill, and sets up top lane for success.
Feels like the best case scenario here is the fact that Hanabi was able to actually shove the lane back in and get it bounced back to him, so he's not just completely zoned off his creeps. You can still see he's doing pretty well in CS and not extended too far to put him into danger without flash.
Also pretty interesting to me that, after the opening game of the day, this is the change that SKT are making, where all the top lane focus, with the Jace matchup, caused them to lose control of the map so early on. Clid saying, not this time around. And he's putting so much of his early focus up there, even hovering around once again for another possible move.
And one thing that I always think comes up as part of the conversation around who succeeds and who falters in international competition is the word adaptation. Which teams properly recognize the strengths and weaknesses of both themselves and their opponents and make the changes they need to turn losses into wins. And Korean teams, SKT especially, have always been one of the best examples of how to adapt properly, and SKT already seems to be learning from the things that went south in that first game.
Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map where Flash Wolves had the flash burned on Teddy, that thing's almost back up now. And the Kallista's almost level 6. Braum Kallista lane, both of them being level 6 with summoners, is going to be so much more safe. They won't have to spend any more attention.
And this is one of the errors or kind of lack of adaptations that Flash Wolves made from game 1 to this game, is kind of recognizing what your strong and weak side of the map, where you have playmaking potential here, as Mata is snagged.
Mata will be caught out alone here as his AD carry was able to complete the back, but Mata's was interrupted. However, that's a Braum. He has the Unbreakable. Pretty hard to be able to actually kill him there, so he'll just be delayed a bit on making that recall work out. Boogie, level 6. Clid, level 6. Both junglers have some pretty serious gank potential up and running right now. We'll see if they can make something happen with it. as Rather is going to be clearing out a control ward here in the river. And you can see Boogie staying just out of vision range for that one in case SKT would try to collapse.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing here for Flash Wolves is while their ultimates are ready to go, they want to pick a fight. You can see they're hunting around for it, is that it's a Cloud Dragon. There's nothing to really incentivize SKT to just blindly walk into a river here. SKT are going to pick the perfect moment when they have full information before they look for that strike.
And when you look at the comparison between jungler items here as well, Boogie has components. Klid, with the bonus money from the First Blood, has that warrior completed, and that is a massive power spike compared to just messing around, fumbling with those pieces. As you can see mid lane here, Xiaoxi has made his rotation towards the mid lane, seeing if maybe there's something to set up with the Nautilus ultimate, Rumble together.
Again, the deep ward from Faker, though, that he placed in lane last time that Boogie came here, has provided him the extra information.
But top side, it's Klid making a return trip. Hanabi in some trouble, going to be kicked back into the brush. More damage coming through from both these guys, and there is no way out. Khan makes sure that's going to be 2 kills for SKT.
And take notes, Boogie, that's how you punish the lack of Flash. A repeat gank to make it happen. Meanwhile, cross-map trade, it's going to be Cloud for top.
Flash Wolves doing a good job recognizing, hey, we've got to get something off of this. We can't just allow our top laner to fall behind without making some sort of a cross-map play. They'll grab that Drake for themselves. SKT not in any sort of a position to contest it. But when Rise gets off to the races, that is a scary prospect. This champion is one of the most dangerous. He's put in a good spot to split push.
Yep, able to get some extra damage on the turret as well and try and knock off one of those plates for himself. So extra gold after the fact. This time also getting the kill credit now means that the money is going in the right spot.
And the scary thing is SKT are now at, I believe, a 2K advantage in this game with the composition that's able to play different iterations, multiple lane assignments rather than what Flash Wolves are running. So if they get ahead, they're just going to stay ahead at this point. Flash Wolves need to really start playing around their window, play around the Rumble ultimate. They need to make things happen.
And getting ahead and staying ahead is actually pretty relevant when you look at the stats of Flash Wolves throughout their regular season play in spring 2019. When this team gets an early lead, they're pretty consistent in being able to close it out and push that towards a victory. But when they don't have the early lead, they're pretty consistently in trouble. This team doesn't do nearly as well playing from a deficit. It's like you were talking about, Frost, towards Boogie, but towards the whole team. When they're in those high-pressure situations, when they got to make something happen and the pressure is on, it doesn't always work out for this team.
And I feel like this Rift Herald pickup is going to cause a lot of problems for Flash Wolves here. This is going to be a very big tool for SK Telecom, pushing this ahead. There are still turret plates for another 4 minutes left in this match. And Faker has done such a good job in the mid lane, not overextending himself, even though multiple attempts from not only the jungler, but also the support have come through mid lane.
He's just absorbing so much pressure. I love the point that you bring up about the tower plates. Feels like early Rift Heralds, the ability to just springboard someone into a massive snowball, especially when you can pick between an Aurelia and a Rise, depending on where you use that Rift Herald. It's no longer just about cracking open the map. It's about getting that item advantage and using that to leverage everywhere else.
And guess what? He's back on the top side of the map here. Pinging between both solo lanes is Klid.
Faker deciding he's going to start off a fight here in the mid lane. TP also going to be used. Faker looking to get himself away. Nice flash coming out from the EQ combo. The Jarvan looking to make the Cataclysm happen. A lot of juggling going on to Mata, but he will be able to get himself away. Flash Wolves look to make the play, but SKT gets everybody out.
Oh, that Jarvan ultimate actually created terrain in front of the Nautilus hook that was in the air there. So it's stuffed to Xiaoxi's attempt at engaging as well. And Faker and the rest of SK Telecom get out alive with a commitment from Cho'Gath. That is almost another plate for Khan. And with the Rift Herald, that's going to be a whole turret.
And that's the thing. It's the fact that, again, Faker absorbs so much pressure, and in the end, it's Khan who is suddenly on the front foot.
And this is not just the full turret, this is the full turret plus every plate in the kitchen, ladies and gentlemen. That is the importance of using Shelly before 14 minutes. It's so much extra gold in your pocket, and it's a 3K lead for SKT.
Felt like Khan went back and said, no, allow me to carry it, give me the gold, and he's getting it this time around. As we take another look at this one, that Dragon's Rage kick delays the Cataclysm for so long right there.
Yeah, Boogie was able to get the flash on the EQ there, knock up onto Faker, but there wasn't damage to follow it up. So no conversion for Flash Wolves, and SK Telecom feel very good opening up the map here with first turret falling on the top side. This is going to start to open up their options.
I like the fact that you mentioned the damage wasn't there, Kobe, because when you look at a champion like Rumble, you're thinking, oh, mid-game, that's where I'm expecting this champion to pop off. That's what I want to see. But when you look at Faker's inventory, early Negatron Cloak plus completed Mercury Treads. He's saying, all right, I'm going to put a little bit of a pause here on the normal Irelia itemization of Tiamat into Trinity Force basic cookie cutter power spike, and instead adapt to this game, make it so this Rumble can't get that mid-game power spike he's looking for, and shut that down.
And it's the fact also that Faker knew that he didn't have to be pushed forward in this lane, you know, if he's not having the Tiamat, if he has the Sheen. And between his passive and the Sheen and the Negatron, he's basically winning out all of these trades every single time in these short instances.
Another pass mid here for Flash Wolves as Nautilus returns for Faker. And the Flash is down, but still, they're unable to get any sort of aggression out of him at the right time and punish it.
It's a completely different Flash Wolves, but it's the exact same playstyle. Every time this organization plays Faker, they always camp his lane.
And because we didn't get to see Faker at Worlds, the last international competition we really had, maybe some people out there might have forgotten, but this happens to him all the time. So often teams try to shut him down, and time again, the man is immaculate at absorbing pressure and not having it be a liability. Now it's Clid looking to make a play onto Xiaoxi, who's going to be knocked out of position. Nice Dragon's Rage, going to make sure that one happens. And the Nautilus goes back to the depths. It's Teddy getting the kill on that one.
And guess what? The Ocean Dragon is about to come up, so SKT probably going to have control of this area of the map at the perfect time.
And now it's a question of where do they want to strike, if they maybe want to look for a small window before that dragon pops up, or maybe they just get control of the river and take it for free.
Teleport is ready for Khan on the rise in the top side. He's got the Seraph's Embrace completed, and he's feeling quite good about himself. So he can shove out the minion wave first and then join the rest of the team if there's any sort of movement from Flash Wolves.
That movement is going to be running away with your tail between your legs. If Flash Wolves know what's good for them, they're down 4,000 gold. They're down TP advantage. This is not a fight anybody, unless you're looking for a gray screen, is going to take. Flash Wolves walk away from.
But the problem is that with Flash Wolves composition, because I agree, they're down in gold, they're down in items, but that comp only works when you're fighting together. They have to look for fights or look for scenarios where they can actually try to inch their way back into this game.
And again, if we return to the damage evaluation point, they're not really going to have that big boost until Kai'Sa gets the Rage Blade active. Rumble right now is sitting on the pieces of what will be Azonia's. Not going to add that early oomph that you're looking for Rumble. Level 11, you're used to seeing double spell penetration, you know, big ultimates coming down, but they aren't going to have the punch to be able to create their own plays.
And it means that there's kind of this closing window or this ticking time bomb on Flash Wolves composition before, again, SKT will just start eating up the map and ripping them around Summoner's Rift.
And I mentioned earlier how Flash Wolves are known to struggle when they don't get an early lead. It's pretty rare to see a team not get a single turret plate over the course of 14 minutes of play. But Flash Wolves have currently been locked out of everything on Summoner's Rift except that single Cloud Drake that they were able to acquire earlier. SKT has been piloting this early game very well so far.
Yeah, this game really hitting home that it's a new Flash Wolves and a new SK Telecom. Different looks definitely coming out. Khan on the top side, who got so much of the early attention, feels really free here to continually shove out these lanes.
And he's going to continuously punch down on Hanabi right now. Now, Cho'Gath is in a situation where I feel like he has to choose to die against Khan, especially on this type of lane. He can now just kind of be that front tank unless maybe two members visit him up into the top lane. So I figure that SKT are going to try to problem solve how to break these other structures in mid and bot.
And if we try and look at it for the more difficult side for Flash Wolves, where their opening will be, you know, there is a Righteous Glory completed for Hanabi, so maybe the Cho'Gath, they find some sort of initiation with him and Jarvan being able to, you know, collapse onto the other side of the map. Got a little bit of time to wait for his teleport to come up before they can actually all converge, but that might be the thing that they're looking for, because now the Oblivion Orb does come in for Rumble. He's not going to complete the Zhonya's first, and he will have that punch of the double-layered spell penetration.
And as Frosk mentioned, Flash Wolves have to find the opportunity to use this team fighting comp to find that big multi-man engage and make that win condition sing. But the problem is, you're down 4,500 gold against a team that ranked #1 in the LCK at converting advantages and leads at 10 and 15 minutes into wins. SKT is not a team that gets ahead and then accidentally throws it away. They are a team that gets ahead and then slowly but surely bang, bang, bang. That's the nails going into your coffin one after another.
I mean, you know that better than anyone else, Clayton. You've seen what they can do to teams even when they do have massive. That said, just because Flash Wolves know what they need to do, it also means that SKT know exactly what they need to do. So you can see that river, that vision is completely lit up, and they're just cheating in between mid and bot, chipping away at these structures, recognizing that Flash Wolves are probably going to get desperate, probably look for a team fight. But as long as SKT can wait it out, curate the exact team fight that they want, it's just a matter of time.
Next Drake will be that Infernal, spawning in under 2 minutes. Baron will be spawning at almost the exact same time. SKT with total control over the bottom side river right now. You can look at the vision game being played. Plenty of wards down there for these guys, making sure that Flash Wolves can't walk into the river without SKT knowing about it. And as they fire off the Scryer's Bloom, Clid says, oh, that's a control ward that's not from my team? Nope, get that out of here. We're not going to allow that to stand any longer. And they make it so Flash Wolves is always having to guess what's safe and what's not on this map.
Yeah, a lot of advanced moves here from Clid. Top side, though, Khan's got a control ward, should be just fine.
Yeah, Boogie's going to show up, but not find himself any success. 0-0 and 0 on this Jarvan pick. Hasn't been able to get involved, really get his team any wins throughout the game thus far. As bottom side, the second turn of the game will drop to the side of SKT. As Xiaoxi goes for the flash into the engage, but SKT is right here for the follow-up and the counter-attack. They're going to be putting a lot of damage into Rather, who has to go into the stopwatch here. Immediately stunned down onto Xiaoxi. He's going to be exploded as the damage just rains into the Flash Wolves lineup. But it's going to be SKT who then loses 2. Boogie looks to turn it into 3, but he won't be able to find the damage onto Clid. Instead, it's Teddy coming in, and he'll turn Boogie into a right pincushion as he makes sure he gets yet another kill. It's 2 dead for SKT. 3 for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and with Betty chunked out there's no one left to defend. SK Telecom will get a turret afterwards.
And it just reeked of desperation right there from the Flash Wolves. They went for the top lane. They were looking for the gank on Khan. They then decide to pivot, start running, sprinting towards Faker, seeing if they can make it work, but they overreach. And again, SKT knew exactly what they wanted to do, made the correct rotations, and cleaned up the end of the fight.
All right, we're coming up on that Infernal Drake as well that you're looking for, Clayton. Should be able to get back out onto the map very quickly. SK Telecom, because they've had control of the map for the last 7 minutes, are the ones with the standing wards in the river already. So Flash Wolves are having to get out there and try and do their duty first. Xiaoxi laying down as much vision as he can.
Really clever placement of his vision, though, trying to remove or try to avoid some of these control wards.
Yeah, kind of shotgun there, get a little bit on every different angle.
And you can see whenever a team has to move into an area where their opponents have controlled the vision for so long, it's like playing a game of connect the dots. You just got to make these little advances slowly but surely. Can't go too far out of line. Somebody might catch you. And speaking of catches, let's take a look at how this last play started off.
Okay, so once again, they go for Faker on the Aurelia. Rumble ult comes down. That is a big chunk of the damage. Betty is here, though, getting off the auto attacks. He almost is able to finish off that second kill. Ult's back here over to try and finish Clid, who walks away into Teddy's heal that saves him from the Q from Boogie. And then Boogie is left with no mobility, and he gets chased down by Teddy, ripping out the spears.
It was like a freeze frame. For a second there, Flash Wolves fans are like, yes, we've got him, boys.
Good.
And then suddenly Teddy arrives.
Yeah, then suddenly the Kalista with Blade of the Ruined King, Runaan's Hurricane, and a stopwatch ready to go shows up to the fight, and things get much more difficult.
And that's so pivotal because, like Kobe was saying, we're still waiting for that Rage Blade. Kai'Sa still doesn't have it.
And Hanabi's going to find himself in a bad spot here yet again. Clid going for the kick there, but they don't have the burst to take the Cho'Gath out in time. Mana not going to find the knock up there. A little bit of a mispositioning on the accuracy for the Glacial Fissure means that they will not get that kill. And SKT back away.
Yeah, everyone gonna walk away after that one, and a couple of the ultimates lying down.
This is why we need emotes. Professional play.
But that would have been the Soraka Cup.
Yeah, this is fine.
Thank you for trying. If we check in once again on the map, though, the game state just getting worse for Flash Wolves. All these deep wards you can see in this blue quadrant of the jungle as we're sweeping over here have been left behind, and it makes it so dangerous, for Flash Wolves to now transfer between turrets for defense. They're just trying to ward off SK Telecom. But they're continually losing out on gold.
Yeah, the only silver lining here is the fact that the Rage Blade has finally come in for Kai'Sa. You now have double points in the ultimate for Rumble. So again, we're still looking for that wombo combo. We know that the Flash Wolves want it, and they at least have some punch behind their damage if they set it up correctly.
Flash Wolves moving Rather into the top side. Now you can see Khan just hanging around. Does have a 2-level advantage over Rather should these two find themselves in the 1 versus 1 here top side. Shall see also sitting in this brush just to make sure if SKT tries to move in with multiple people, they will not be able to collapse and freely take kills off these Flash Wolves members. But look at the ward line. Look at how this slowly advances through Flash Wolves territory with everything from that outer turret line down. It's so much easier for SKT to move up like this and choke out more of the map.
And everyone who has played League of Legends knows this feeling. Your team is down, you're behind, the entire map is dark. Baron is a constant worry. When are they taking? Are they on it? Every second that you lose track of the enemy, you're worried about this. So you can see in their movements here, Flash Wolves going in as a group, trying to get a little bit of information for themselves to work with. Khan, though, just sits on his control ward and avoids the extra members.
There are 3 steps for solo queue if you find yourself in Flash Wolves positions. Number 1, buy control wards. Number 2, hold hands. And number 3, slowly walk forward.
Everybody just trying to stay together. Don't go into the jungle without your jungle buddy. That is the rule for the Flash Wolves. Anybody gets themselves caught out, they will be in a world of hurt. Hanabi on that Cho'Gath, the one man who's able to probably survive being collapsed on and not explode instantly. But SKT still looking very scary. Trinity Force finally online here for Faker. Did go for the Wit's End to complete that beforehand. SKT lineup's looking pretty threatening. Khan finding a little bit of damage there onto Boogie, taking him down to half HP and stealing the red. These resources are SKT's for the take.
Yeah, he just chunks the enemy jungler to 50%, then steals his red buff. That feels extremely bad. Right now, though, for Flash Wolves, their biggest asset is the amount of crowd control that they have available to them. So all eyes are going to be on Betty. Can they set up this Kai'Sa to try and get these kills? Mata goes in, though.
Mata with the flash initiation sets it up, and in the blink of an eye, Shalcy is gone. Khan cashes in on that kill. 3, 0, and 2 on this Rise. Maximum possible bonus bounty. SKT will not immediately head towards the Baron. Instead, they're going to bait Flash Wolves to come a little bit closer, see if they can get another kill first, and Boogie is going to be tagged up with that Winter's Bite. Will manage to get himself away. Rather going to be in some trouble. Khan going to find the kill. Will not get it. The overload goes a little bit wide, but now that is SKT's green light to push into the top lane. Tier 2 under siege. Rumble can't fight it, and that means it's gone.
Yeah, the damage is disgusting right now from SKT, and I love the patience, the coordination, the control that they're showing here. They have a Callista, so at some point they can be like, you cannot out-smite us. In fact, that point's going to be right now. Realm Warp directly back into the Baron. Like I said, they have the Kai'Sa. This should be their monster objective.
They are up against a Cho'Gath, though, so there is always the possibility of the feast. SKT back away from the Baron. They don't want to risk anything here, playing so slow, so controlled. Equalizer's going to be coming down. Flash Wolves looking to start off the fight. Faker going to be taking some damage. Boogie into the back line, but he's going to be all alone and shredded out. Faker's able to find that first kill as Ratter's going to be in some trouble. Isolated all alone, taken down, bursted out, and Teddy goes on a killing spree. It is 9-2 SKT, and I believe Baron has to finally be on the menu.
Yeah, big split engage there for Flash Wolves as they dodge out the initial hook from Nautilus, and then Boogie's the only guy that goes in after that. So SK Telecom take down the jungler and mid laner, and now they have full control over the Baron pit. Flash Wolves, Hanabi, this is their one hope. Can he get a flash in and feast?
I don't think he's going to be able to. Faker is able to run intervention on this one. Mata also going to be keeping that Cho'Gath away. Notice how the majority of this Baron take has just been Klid and Khan doing the entire thing. Stuns coming through. Faker's able to find the damage. Flash Wolves are going to be losing more men even sooner than they expected. Hanabi is down. Will they be able to make it too? Shalcy tries to get himself away. I don't think you're going to be doing your Spider-Man cosplay much longer, my friend. He is out of there, and Klid makes sure he grabs his second kill of the game. It is a Baroned up SKT. 5v3 marching down the top lane.
Yeah, very clear control from SK Telecom in their second game of the day here. They know that the only thing they have to worry about is a flash in from Cho'Gath trying to feast away the Baron. So they set 2 members on defending it, and that is going to be SKT inside the base.
And unfortunately, it feels like the fairy tale for Flash Wolves has ended. They do not look like the Korean Killers today, looking at an 0-2 start.
And SKT will not have such a start. The first game was a little bit rough, but they bounce back in style and take Flash Wolves down in 27 minutes.
They completely switched the game plan. So many resources towards top side after the first game of the day. They get Khan the lead. Clid over and over up there on Lee Sin, creating plays. Faker absorbing pressure in mid lane the whole time, not overextending. And they didn't allow the Flash Wolves to make plays in anywhere else on the map. So then they were able to take that control home.
For me, I'm looking at specific picks now between G2 and SKT that seem to climb up on priority. The Rise. When are we going to see this pick really contested in the ban phase from red side? I predict it will be continuously first picked and will start to rise in priority for the rest of this tournament.
Flex picks gonna be so big for this tournament. Rise, Jace, Aurelia, Akali, everything floating around. I don't think we're ready to add Rumble to the list after this game, but
maybe not
I'll give
quite.
him another chance, though. I'm always willing to give him 2 chances.
Yeah, everybody, you can't judge it off of a single game. If it happens another time, then we got to start scratching our heads a little bit. But SKT bouncing back after the first game defeat against G2,